with David and Stacy Whited, where we break down current events and examine culture through the lens of conservative Christian values. Yay! Welcome! We are so excited to be with you tonight. If you're new to Flyover Conservatives, our slogan is wake up, speak up, and show up. We all wanted President Trump to do 80 million things to save our country. That would have been absolutely incredible. But we've learned over these last couple of years, what we really need is 80 million of us doing one thing every single day to save our own country. That is even more incredible.
And we love partnering with the 80 million. You know, you guys are tuning into this show every day, and we love to kind of, you know, if you're new to this show and you've never been here before, we could tell you what we're about and what do we do. But our team put together a cool little video.
It's really cool. They did an awesome job.
For the website and social media for people who've never heard of Flyover Conservatives, never heard of Dave and Stacy Whited. You know, it's like, where have you been? Probably doing something productive. But here, check out our new About video our team put together. We're really proud of them.
Growing up in the heart of the USA, David and Stacy met at school when they were in 7th grade. They started dating at 19 and tied the knot at 20. Yep, it's a love story that warms the heart. At 23 years old, while juggling 2 kids, Colton and Avery, they started an online brokerage company that soared to unimaginable heights, liberating them from the confines of the 9-to-5 grind. With their newfound freedom, this dynamic duo spent their time globetrotting. What followed was 2 years working on the mission fields, ministry school, marriage workshops, and even a music career. But hold on, folks. That's not where the story ends. In 2016, they saw a businessman they admired become president. During his campaigning, they noticed that he celebrated a system of government of which the founding fathers would have been proud. They had many friends asking for their thoughts on what was happening in politics. It was then that they realized that there was a burning need for a community where real issues could be discussed, debated, and dissected. And so, the Facebook group called Flyover Conservatives was born. As the 2020 election cycle rolled around, their group grew and grew, attracting more patriots by the day. But as we all know, the journey wasn't without its challenges. Big tech began to censor conservative content, shadow banning the flyovers, and subjecting them to daily fact checks that left many scratching their heads. Undeterred, this dynamic duo rose to the occasion. During the infamous Twitter purge, they decided to take matters into their own hands and launched their very own show, streaming on platforms like Rumble. And guess what? Their audience has skyrocketed to over 5 million views a month. With regular guests like General Michael Flynn, Roger Stone, Kash Patel, Robin Bullock, Eric Trump, and so many others, they show absolutely no signs of slowing down.
I love that. Peter did such an incredible job. We are so thankful to the team.
And light, not like, you know, some boring thing.
That's true.
So we have a lot of fun here as a team. We're even trying to expand. We're trying to bring on some staff to help with editing and different things like that. So we have a lot of fun, though, in this process. And it's tough because there were some parts where we were growing in here and you get set back. There's YouTube, you know, we lose channel.
Very discouraging.
And some of the topics, you know, we had to really learn how to steward all this of like balancing out, like how do we engage in this kind of content? You know, it's the expression of you don't want to spend your career fighting pigs, you're wrestling pigs, and even if you win, you still walk away smelling like a pig.
I do not want to smell like a pig.
And so how do you navigate, you know, this space? And so we've kind of grown a lot through that and kind of found a way, hey, if we don't laugh a little bit each day here in the studios and as we're working, then it really becomes a grind. We work a lot of hours, travel a lot of physical work, and have a good time doing it.
Talk about travel. We have been doing a ton of traveling. We've seen a lot of you, which has been a lot of fun.
And I'm not a travel person. You know, people are like, I just want to travel the world. No, I like staying at home. I like to hike with my dog. I like to, you know, read, you know, and do these things. So traveling for me is kind of like, all right, we'll do this thing. What I do enjoy, though, I do enjoy the people. And I use it as a time, you know, we kind of get locked in the studio here, and I might not have a thumb on the pulse of what's going on in the world. And so I always try to wear something that's going to engage conversation. And something I've gone to wearing, I bought this at Trump Doral.
It's a classy Trump hat, but it is red. It stands out.
It's red. You know, red hat by itself, you know, is a little triggering to some people, makes them sad.
Yeah.
And it says Trump on it, clearly. And so
it's been interesting to see as we've been traveling. You're getting a lot of people that comment.
So we'll see what are the responses. Am I going to go out there and you get tomatoes thrown at you or whatever like this? And I can just tell you guys, we've been in probably 10 airports over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and
a lot of airports.
I mean, California multiple times, Florida, South Carolina, Colorado,
Nevada,
all over the place, and
Alabama.
We're not a 50-50 torn country where even in California at rental car places, people just come up and they're like, "Hey, I like the hat." I get 3 responses. I get one that people kind of distance and they're like, "Hey," kind of a thing like that. I get a second one that's kind of a a little bit interesting, where a couple will be there and like maybe the husband will come up to me and he's kind of like looking over his shoulders like this, and he's like, "I like your hat." And I'm
you're like,
in my mind, I'm like, well, big chicken, why you got to lean over? Why can't you just say, "I like your hat"? It's like, it's an interesting dynamic in a free culture. But the third one is the most interesting to me, and I get it a lot. I mean, sometimes on one trip,
we even have some proof here today.
Yeah, I'll show you something kind of interesting that happened. But people will come up to me and they'll look at me for a second and they'll say, "Thank you," like that, and I'm like, that's an interesting response because, okay, I'm a Chiefs fan. If I'm traveling somewhere and I saw somebody wearing a Chiefs thing, I'd be like, I identify, "Hey, I like that. You like that. Hey, a thumbs up or something," or "Hey, go Chiefs," or whatever.
But not a thank you.
But their external display would not solicit a feeling of gratitude in me towards them. Like, I don't know how to wrap my head around that. Maybe you guys got some answers for us in the comments. But when people will see me wear this, every time I'll get a few comments of like, someone will come up and they're not sure what to say. They'll say, "Thank you." And I don't know exactly. Maybe you guys can share with us why they do that. But I got a really interesting one on a flight. A lady.
It was actually the stewardess.
Came up and handed this note to me. It's on the screen. And it was folded in half. She tapped on my shoulder. I was in the middle seat and Stacy's by the window. And she goes, "Here." And I opened it up and it said, "I like your hat. Thank you for wearing it." And then kind of a happy face down in the bottom. And she looked at me and just smiled and then kind of went on. And, it's an interesting thing. Why would she feel thankful that I'm proudly saying I align with the beliefs of that? That's basically what you're saying. Like, you don't wear, like, I wouldn't wear a Raiders jersey, right? It's like, because I don't align with the Raiders or whatever. Like, you went to a certain college, you might wear the alma mater of that, or you might wear something about your church because you like your church's youth program, or something going on. Like, you only wear things that you're aligned with. So by putting this on, I'm saying the policies, the beliefs, the way our country was under, like, I'm aligned with this leadership, with this style of leadership, and it's like. And I if I wear it on my head and I'm in public, it means I want people to know that as for me and my house, I am in alignment with this. Now, this isn't quite a whole, big MAGA, make America great. It's like the entry level, classy, kind of one.
Interesting.
It's not as abrasive, but it's like hey, this is where I stand. And it gets a really interesting response.
It's interesting because on one of the flights, I think we were heading to Myrtle Beach, a lady that was beside me, she had a mask on, and we got in a conversation. She explained why she was wearing a mask. There was a lot of different things behind that. But obviously, David was wearing his hat. At the end of the flight, it was a couple hours that we were on the flight, and we did talk a lot of that flight. But when we landed, she said, "I just want you to know," she goes, "I voted for President Biden," and she said, "I really feel like it's the biggest mistake I've ever made, and I'm very embarrassed to say that I did, that I actually felt tricked, that I voted for him." And I just thought, just really interesting. I think we're finding that more and more and more in our country. So even people that were maybe at the beginning felt like, yes, this was the right decision, that now they're like, that was a really bad decision. And we were still able to have a conversation. I think we're finding that in our country now, where there has been a great division, where maybe back in 2020, we may not have been able to have that conversation. But now, due to what's happened over these last few years, more and more conversations are opening up. So maybe even people that you talked to back in 2020, that wasn't a good conversation, today it might be a different situation.
And I think, people are like, I think I'd rather have mean tweets than a world war or a bankrupt defunct dollar or
a weak, uncapable president.
Yeah. He was capable of making his own mean tweet. That's kind of a cool thing,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, what it goes into, but people are they're seeing the abuse of the justice system against him, and they're kind of waking up and they're like, man, I kind of got railroaded by the attorneys and stuff, and I went through a divorce, or I just saw the law system kind of run me. I don't like the way that's being done. So people are a lot of different things are waking them up, but it's cool.
That's
It's
true.
a cool time.
Talk about something waking people up. When we had the opportunity, we had traveled a lot this week. We had the opportunity to go to Las Vegas and host the Trump I Know documentary. They actually put this documentary back out due to censorship, and it was such an incredible event. We did it at Warrior Studios. Right there, we have some Flyover family members with us. A lot of you guys know the Thayers over there on the left. They are the producer and directors of the Trump I Know documentary. But over there on the right are Flyover family members. That is Craig and Lisa, and we are really thankful for them. Lisa helps to put together the prophetic report. They came to the documentary, The Trump I Know. But that was really a fun event. We had the opportunity to interview Devin Nunes. We had the opportunity to interview Lara Trump, which was absolutely
We were like
amazing.
the host MCs of it. It's a cool facility. There's screens in a 360-degree radius around you. It's the most advanced technology, I think, maybe in the world, definitely in the United States. Tony Robbins has a kind of a smaller version of this studio where they can host over 500,000 people virtually, and they can even come on and they can control them, and they can come on and interact with you. So the whole screens can be made up of people. So you got like maybe a couple hundred people in front of you is what the studio holds. But then you could have 500,000 people around the world attending an event. It kind of makes your imagination kind of run. So like I said, we interviewed Devin Nunes and Lara Trump.
And if you're like, man, I'd like to see this, you go to ttikfilm.com. They're going to be putting this back out. So if it's not there yet, keep looking. You'll be able to see that and watch the interviews.
TTIK stands for The Trump I Know.
Yes.
Film.com.
I want to talk about, because we've had the opportunity to interview Lara before. And Devin Nunes, and both of those were incredible interviews. But I want to talk a little bit about the interview with Lara. We had an incredible conversation with her. Right now, her family is under fire, period. You've got Trump that right now is in the courts, but so is her husband, Eric. And she actually put out a song. It's a cover song from Tom Petty saying, it's called I Won't Back Down. But it's actually now, I think it's top 8 in all genres, and top
iTunes,
6 in country.
iTunes, download it anywhere where you buy music and download the single. But the words are powerful. Tom Petty, I think, came out with this in maybe 88 or 89, something like that. And the words are like so specific to, I think, what all patriots are kind of going through right now. Producer Colton took a little cut from it and put some clips to it. And Lara Trump put it on her Instagram, which was kind of a cool thing. But let's play the clip that Colton put some footage with the audio. It's pretty cool.
Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground. Won't be turned around. And I'll keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground. And I won't back down.
Man, that's so good. I didn't want it to end. I watched it now several times, and when it gets to the end of just that little part there, the video that Colton put together, I'm like, oh, I have to play it again.
Maybe you guys could petition producer Colton to make a whole video, or you can just go to iTunes and download the audio if you want to hear just that. But it definitely inspired me to want to do some push-ups.
Oh, no doubt about it. She is truly a beast. If you saw her arms, that is absolutely
It's not just
amazing.
like skinny.
No,
it's like,
no.
No, it's like muscle,
Did you
strong.
see her doing her pull-ups in a weighted vest?
We're in a weighted vest doing pull-ups. It's
That's
like,
incredible.
Okay, yeah, good job.
Okay, so I actually asked her, I said,
Mom.
okay, yeah, no kidding. I asked her, I said, did you intentionally choose that song? I mean, was there something about it? And she said, absolutely. She said, with where our family is and what we're going through right now, what I see my father-in-law go through, what my husband's going through, what we're going through as a Trump family, I just wanted to make a statement that this is where we are and we are not backing down. One thing I wanted to point out in the lyrics is, you can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. I mean, that is where the Trump family is right now, and they are not backing down. Couple things I wanted to highlight about President
they
Trump.
messed with the wrong family.
They did. I don't know if you've seen it lately, but there's a couple of things I wanted to highlight. First of all, he put on his Truth Social last week a picture of him in a courtroom with Jesus beside him. It's a drawing. And he's making a statement right there. He is not alone in this fight. He's called in this fight, and he's anointed for such a time as this to do what he's doing. So I thought that was pretty incredible. The other thing is he was being interviewed about Speaker of the House before they chose a new Speaker of the House. And he made the statement, he said, only Jesus Christ could actually be the perfect Speaker of the House. And that's not word for word what he said, but that's, that's the extent of it. And that really hit me at the time. I mean, he is really pointing right now to who he is listening to and what's going on. That's coming up more and more and more. And it's pretty exciting to see what's going on right now with the Trump family.
There's definitely a fear of the Lord when you follow President Trump closely, and I think that's an interesting topic that we can probably dive into a little more. And I think you might have even put it on the prophetic report.
I did. If you haven't gotten it, go to thepropheticreport.com. Make sure you register for a newsletter. I talked about it in the prophetic report last week, but I have it in written form this week. There was a real powerful section talking about John Bevere interviewing Jim Baker, that conversation, and then what's going on with President Trump and the difference between the reverence for the Lord that President Trump has and how he's displayed it through his presidency and now with what's going on in his life. So
there's
if you
difference
haven't
between
gotten it,
loving God and having a fear of the Lord.
Yes.
They are a different thing altogether. And there's definitely a fear of the Lord that's there that was not before. And I know some people I saw on social media took some jabs at that, like, oh, so Trump, I don't know, what are you trying to think? Like, you can come at every angle when it comes, to things spiritually. To me, it showed a humility of like, you know what? They make you sit there alone. It's not like you come in there with the MAGA crowd. They don't hold those at a rally.
Right.
And sometimes people are real brave when you're at a ReAwaken event or something like that. But, you're not so brave, in other situations. I think he's trying to show, hey, I'm here, but I'm not alone.
Nope.
I look alone, but I'm not alone because that's where my faith is there. And I think it's in a different place than it's ever been before. And I continue to pray and uplift President Trump that he continues to keep his eyes on the Lord. And what is, not talking God into joining our plans, that we're always joining his plans as a nation, because that's where our hope rests.
That's exactly right. So definitely be praying for President Trump and the Trump family. They are under fire right now, but they've said they are not backing down. So definitely be praying for them. Then after we were in Vegas, then we flew to Birmingham, Alabama, and drove over to Warrior, Alabama, because we were hosting the intelligence briefing with Steve Schultz and Robin Bullock. And that was an incredible event. What a weekend. I mean, what a weekend. Look at that group right there. What an honor to be in that
it's
picture.
Interesting because before we even started a show, we would watch, we didn't have a podcast. We were just trying to figure out, life, and everybody's getting lockdowns and COVID was happening, all this stuff. And we were watching Steve Schultz's on Elijah's stream, interview, Kat Kerr and others. And then we would literally set our watches, set our day and our calendar around when Robin Bullock was going to be on with Steve Schultz.
Did.
And so, to get to be there, we used to watch the 11th hour. They did a live worship setting, and we were actually sitting on the stage, and the band's all playing, and you can see the crowd, and it felt like a weird dream. Where you ever dream like something of your regular day, then like you go to sleep and you kind of have a version of that in your dream. It's like, it'd be like waking up and telling Stacy, like, I had a dream that we're watching the 11th hour and Robert Bullock's band was playing, but we were on stage with them.
Yeah. Well, because if you all know 11th hour, those are in undisclosed locations. Like, nobody can come except for the 11th hour.
They don't have an audience
crew.
there.
Nobody even knows where it is. And so for us to be on stage while they were playing and to be a part of that was truly remarkable. If you've not seen the intelligence briefing that happened in Warrior, Alabama on Saturday night, you can go to robindbullock.com, Robin D. Bullock on YouTube and find it there. But I'll also put the link below so that you can watch it there. We could put it in the notes. So that was an amazing event. I learned a lot of just very valuable information.
And we were treated
where we
incredible
are
by their whole team. So big shout out to Church International. A lot of those guys watched the show. It was humbling to see how many. And just realizing we are all in this together, and we're all praying we're all locked arms, whether we're together, or not. There are people all over this country, more than you possibly can realize, many more than what you would think if you were just watching mainstream media. There are millions of people that are praying every day for the world, and praying for our country, and praying for our leaders. And,
Yes.
and it's like God's will be done, in our nation, humbling, turning towards him. And that's a very inspiring thing. Listen to the intelligence briefing. You're going to learn some things about even the conversation between Jesus and Pilate that I've been around church my whole life. I've never heard that phrase, and it's right there. I'm like, how did I miss that? So there's some incredible pieces during that conversation with Steve and Robin that are really insightful.
Such a great weekend. We'll be right back.
Our founding fathers evolved the idea that you and I have within ourselves the God-given right and the ability to determine our own destiny. But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
For 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. And when I say only, trust me, they are the only one.
We are here to defend democracy.
Misinformation poses a threat to our nation's health.
Climate change is an emergency.
Democratic socialism.
Codify one's right to choose.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15.
Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you the ability to access all 3 major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left.
When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you're sending the message that you support free speech, religious freedom, the sanctity of life, Second Amendment, our military, and first responding heroes.
Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan for your needs.
Just go to patriotmobile.com/flyover or call 878-PATRIOT.
That's patriotmobile.com/flyover or call 878-PATRIOT. We were with Matt and Joy Thayer from Sparrow Pictures at the Trump I Know documentary release in Las Vegas, and they had an interview with General Flynn, which was really interesting.
There's several things he says in here that I have not heard him say in public settings, talking about members of political leadership, compromised in global rings and situations. There's some things he gets into. I'm like, wow, that is very clear, very pointed. We're going to play those for you now, but we'll put the entire interview down below. And I encourage you, take that link, do go to Sparrow Pictures and subscribe to their Rumble channel. They let out a lot of information from their documentaries as well that you don't get to see anywhere else. So it's a great place to go. We're going to play this cut for you, though, right now.
I think that people need to understand that that we are experiencing a takeover of the United States of America. And never mind what's going on in Israel. I've been very vocal about this, and from really, God, even before Trump won in 2016. So, I think everything that I've gone through in my life, my family and I, and everything that we've experienced, I look back on it all and I say, it's, maybe it's meant to be. It's not something that I would ever want any human being to have to go through. But even with what we're seeing happening in Israel and in the Middle East today, with just this vicious brutality of what human beings are capable of doing to other human beings. But these are just cycles of history that we've seen before, especially when it comes to the extermination of entire populations. I mean, you've got these radicalized Muslim groups, and in some cases countries, that want to exterminate an entire race of people. Right. But we went through that with Hitler. of course, in World War II. Stalin tried it in his own country, where he eliminated, he exterminated over 60 million people. Mao Zedong did the same thing in China, communist China. Pol Pot in places like Cambodia and Laos and Southeast Asia. We've seen the brutality of dictators in Iraq, in Africa, parts of Africa. So we're sort of in another historic cycle, but this cycle now affects the United States of America, and we have a group of people that are currently in charge of our country that hold all the levers of power, and we've become so complacent as citizens, and we still are complacent. I mean, there's still people that just, they believe that I'm a Russian spy. That's how stupid people can be. So, and we have people in our own, I'd say, sort of in our own group of our own network. I wouldn't say that it's a network that is a tightly coordinated network. It's a network certainly that has a lot of people that say a lot of things, and they attack those of us like me, and there's a few others. Roger Stone's another one, who's a good friend of mine, yet they come across as though they're conservative or Christian, right. and they're neither. They're neither. They're fake in both accounts. The other side of this too is that there are people in this country that are conservative and Christian who still don't believe what's happening, and still can't believe what's happening, and they won't believe what's happening, and they look at this as though, we'll get through this election. Nobody will vote for this in 2024. Well, I don't know if we're going to have an election in 2024.
Right.
I mean, I don't, and I don't say that facetiously. I say that very seriously, because a declaration of a national emergency is a very easy thing for a president to do, and even easier for a fake president to do. So, or a false president, right? He's not a fake person. He's just a false president.
Right.
So there's a lot of ridiculousness out in the media and out in the internet that is one big distraction. And in the world of even people like go, well, and they talk about me, they go, well, he really can't say what's really going on. No, I am saying what's really going on. Our country is being taken over, and we are in desperate need of strong leaders to rise up, through this mess, and basically, hopefully, get our country back on track. But it's not going to be by the people that are currently sitting in the White House or sitting in some of these really critical departments of government, like justice, defense, state, and clearly the head of our intelligence system. These are people that are radicalized. I mean, extremely radical, and they're Marxist, and they believe in this globalist agenda. What happened this weekend, most people didn't even pay any attention to it, because everybody's, of course, foaming at the mouth over what's happening in the Middle East.
Yeah.
The UN and the World Economic Forum signed off on the acceleration of the 2030 agenda, the World Economic Forum and United Nations 2030 agenda, to accelerate it. They signed that agreement this weekend. So, these aren't made up things. These aren't conspiracy theories in the world of psychological operations and information warfare and intelligence. And there's elements of intelligence that are signals intelligence, imagery intelligence. You have, even subsets of signals intelligence. You have electronic countermeasures, electronic support measures, electronic countermeasures. You even have inside of that, you have things like the use of certain different types of signals, and it's called beaconing or meaconing. That you ping different things. There's so many things that are out there happening to us on a daily basis that most people just kind of look at and go, we're just, they just sort of, again, we're complacent. They just become sort of immune to it. So it happens so often. And yet, what do we do about it? We don't do anything but complain. We have the House of Representatives right now is totally, completely broken, and they're totally owned by the corporate lobbyists, and frankly by the globalists who own many of these people because they've been compromised by on some of these what they call Codell trips overseas, where these members of both the House and the Senate get compromised by sleeping with children, and they compromise. And these are real things. These are very real things. They get them caught up in the world of big bucks, big money,
right?
And big bags of money and gold and all this kind of stuff. And all of a sudden they're owned. I mean, we just saw this with the senator from New Jersey who was stuffing cash into his suit coat and carrying suitcases of gold back from Egypt. And now we know he provided secrets to the Egyptian government. And I mean, over the last couple of years, we've seen people in institutions of, the best institutions, which is total BS. When we talk about the Ivy League, when somebody tells me they graduated from Harvard, I say, well, how's that spy that ran the biology department in Harvard doing? Right? He was getting $40,000 a month, providing really critical intelligence to the Chinese government, and he was spying on behalf of the Chinese government, against the United States of America. Whatever happened to that guy, right?
Right.
I mean, he's probably sitting at home, still collecting a paycheck from the Chinese. We've just, the left just drops those things. The media just drops those things. So
yeah.
So why I'm sort of, where I'm at today, we definitely, and this, we have this ReAwaken America movement.
Yeah.
This ReAwaken America movement. And I'm all for President Trump being, because he's the guy that we have, in the lead right now. I think all these other people, definitely on the Republican ticket, ought to just step down and realize what's happening. They should realize what's happening. They don't, because their egos, their pride, all the sort of the, you could probably tick off the 7 deadly sins better than I could, but all these people possess every single one of them.
Right.
Instead of an ounce of humility and an ounce of understanding and an ounce of leadership to say, you know what, now's not the time to put my political ambitions in front of the country. Now's the time to put the country in front of anything else that exists. And we have a guy who's proven as a president already, and I've said very publicly, very many times, I could be his worst nightmare. I could be the most vindictive person, but this has nothing to do with Donald Trump. This has everything to do with our country. Trump understands that. He understands it more today than he did, I think, when he did serve in the White House. I mean, and clearly the 2020 election was stolen. My God, if anybody that believes that this guy got 81 million votes, is smoking something. So these are very, very serious times. We need to get behind a leader and a proven leader and a proven POTUS. And Trump has demonstrated both of those. And all these people that have a problem with his his name calling and all the kinds of other little nitnoid character traits that he's got. The guy proved himself to be able to run this country, on a level that was much better than we've ever seen, probably in the last 50 years. Now, could he have done better in a couple of other regards? Absolutely. Are there things that he should have done? Absolutely. Are there things that he did not do or failed to do? You bet there are. But I think that in this case, at this point in our history, Donald Trump is the guy that can give us the breathing space as long as he puts the right people around him. If he doesn't put the right people around him, he's got to be very careful about the people he's got around him now. And he's going to have to be very smart and shrewd about who he brings around him. Frankly, he continues to cater to people like Lindsey Graham and many of these other sort of war hawks. And that's not what we need right now. We don't need that. What we need to do is we need to have very focused leadership in the White House that's calm and level-headed and has a deep, deep understanding of the geostrategic issues in play around the world, as well as strengthening our economy, and really does know how to function the military, how to use the military in an appropriate way. Our military is damn near the leadership, the top of the leadership is damn near destroyed.
Yeah.
And they clearly are what we call woke, right? They're woke. And where they worry about critical race theory more than they worry about being prepared to fight and win our nation's wars. I'm really seriously I'm concerned about our ability to be able to even engage in anything bigger than a small conflict.
My Towels solved the problem that we've all had with towels. You go into the stores and they feel lotiony and soft, but then you get them home and they wind dry you. That's why I made My Towels. They actually work, they're soft, and they absorb. And now I'm excited to announce 2 brand new lines of My Towels. What makes them the best towels ever is they're now made with 100% long staple Shapir cotton. This is a combed ring spun cotton that makes My Towels even softer and more absorbent than ever. And now you get a 6-piece set for an amazing introductory sale price as low as $29.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get My Towels for only $29.98. Or you can get my designer premium line for just $20 more. Either way, you save 50% now on all My Towels. They actually work. What a concept. This offer won't last long, so please order now.
MyPillow.com. All right, Flyover family. My name is Avery Whited. I'm the daughter of David and Stacy. I'm just moving in, so I had to get an order from MyPillow and get the things that I needed. So let's look inside. I got some MyPillow towels, kitchen towels. I got some of their Giza sheets. Now, I've never actually been able to use them, but I've heard amazing things from my parents about them. And last but not least, something for Charlie. Hey, dog bed. All right, Charlie, let's go put this in the dryer and flip it up for you. Come on, buddy. Nice and warm and fluffy. Perfect for my little guy. Come here, Charlie. All right, if you want to get your own products, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code Flyover to save up to 66% off.
You know what time it is. It's time for an economic update with Dr. Kirk Elliott. Yay!
So happy Monday. So this weekend in Colorado, it was snowing nonstop. Like literally Saturday, Sunday, just tons of snow. We got like a foot, and it was 12 or 16 degrees. So I walk into the office this morning. It's like, wonder if something's wrong with the heating system in this old 1800s building, because it was 52 in our office.
Oh,
so when I got on this morning, I forgot that I had a beanie on, and producer Colton said, Kirk's wearing a cap. It's like, oh, I forgot.
Well, hey, before we get too far into the show, I do need to acknowledge something happened this weekend that probably, current like high school seniors had not hit puberty the last time this had happened. And I got to congratulate you, because the Broncos knocked off the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, man.
You could say this reason and that reason, and that's, a lot of times that's what losers do. They list excuses. I'm not going to say a thing, but it's legit. It happened. And I want to say congratulations. And that's why I love the NFL. In spite of its craziness, and it's an attempt from internally by Goodell and everybody else to destroy the product, it's still the most competitive in legitimate team sport, in the world for that reason. And it's always relevant. They work to have parity, and any week anything can happen. And then it's a funny shaped ball, and it bounces weird, and it makes it a great game to watch. And the Broncos did an incredible job.
Wow.
Well, they did a job. They did a job. Kansas City just played horrible. But here's kind of a weird little stat. We've lost 16 games in a row to Kansas City, which means 8 years, right? So
Yeah, that's a long time.
So what wasn't around 8 years ago? We had the iPhone 7 the last time.
Oh my
The last time
gosh.
the Broncos won against the Chiefs. TikTok wasn't around. Airbnb didn't exist. It's like, dang, that's like ancient history.
Yeah, like Obama was president.
Yeah. That's so crazy. I mean, this is so wild. But anyways, I am glad that we finally won.
I mean,
wow, congratulations.
The cabal hadn't been invented yet. The deep state hadn't been invented yet. Fake news hadn't been invented yet. You know, we were all just ignorantly blissful going around, and we just thought Obama's policies were bad. And so it's a different world. And sometimes I'd rather go back to that.
Fake news? They probably weren't even talking about fake news back
No, it was
then.
just news. There was no fake news.
Yeah. Wow.
We knew there was fake news. We didn't have a name for it.
Yeah, we just didn't have a name for it. Yeah.
I don't know.
Different
Taylor
era.
Swift was maybe 13 or 14 back then.
Taylor Swift was still
But
sweet
still
and
popular,
singing
though.
country songs.
Which is
I
crazy.
know.
She was still popular then. Hard to
Yeah.
believe.
Well,
Oh, she was popular at the Broncos game. They played "Shake It Off" at the end of the game.
Oh, just rubbing his nose.
did they
in it.
really?
Oh yeah, it was hilarious.
Oh, wow.
Was she at
That's
the
good.
game? Do you know?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh my gosh.
But I did think it was funny that the Broncos played "Shake It Off" when
That
the
is
Chiefs
That's
pretty
fine.
funny.
I would.
Yeah,
Might as
no
well.
kidding.
Yeah,
Man.
might as well.
Might
That
as well.
is
Might as
crazy.
well.
Colton's playing
So-
the clip.
Yeah,
Oh, sure enough.
hilarious.
All right, be careful. You get us a ding for copyright infringement. So anyway, it's on to happier, more pleasant, less painful things. Let's talk about the global economy.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh.
So this isn't really pleasant. Well, it could be if you're the recipient of all this stuff, right? So here's where politicians are responsible for the parabolic trend of U.S. debt, right? So look at this chart that you all have. I mean, this is mind-numbingly crazy, right? So if you look at that first chart, okay, that one there, that is the total U.S. debt, $33.6 trillion, right?
Trillion dollars.
See that nice little blip up there at the end where it starts to go straight up?
Yep.
That started in September, right? So it's like, what? I mean, they added more since in the last month than they really did over the last, I don't know, 6-7 months.
Oh,
And there's two of
my
those on there. It looks like
gosh.
Biden election counting, where it just kind of goes
Yeah,
up
it does.
randomly for no reason. And for people that are listening audio only, can you just give some good detail on this if they're on Apple podcast or that kind of format?
Yeah, so imagine a chart that's just kind of gradually going upwards, right? Because they keep adding debt every single year. And then the gradualness turns into like almost straight up moments. You had one of those straight up moments in 2009, right?
Imagine that.
When they really started to try to goose the economy with stimulus money.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen one now recently for whatever reason, right? It's like, well, we don't have a collapse like 2009 happening, but wait, you look at it, you look at the chart and it's like, it looks just like it did in 2009. What gives? So what's coming, right? What do they know that's coming? Well, I would start to add in some other elements that they know about, they being the bankers, the hedge funds. So this pink chart that's on the screen, that shows the actual total debt. This is a more long-term trend. I've never seen something that looks as ugly as this, right? It's like over the last 3 years, the chart is actually going up at more than a 45-degree
Wow.
angle. Like it's just like going up really, really fast. And
What
throughout
is federal
history,
debt held by the public? What does it mean held by the public on that chart? Can you explain that real quick?
Yeah, that would be not held by individual citizens like you or me or private companies. This would be private debt or federal debt held by the public, which would mean Federal Reserve, probably. Other countries, those aren't private, that would be public. So, but when you look at the total amount of debt that's held by anybody other than individuals or banks or companies, right? It's the Federal Reserve is the largest holder of U.S. Treasuries in the world. Then second would be like China and Japan. But China's dumping U.S. Treasuries like it's nobody's business. They want to get rid of them as fast as they can. Because they hate America, they're in competition with us now. With the BRICS nations rising up, wanting to replace the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. That's reason number one. Reason number two is they want to get rid of the U.S. dollar so they can actually have no competition in the sandbox for them to be the reserve currency. So not only are they building up themselves, you have to simultaneously destroy your enemy, which is what they're doing. They're dumping U.S. Treasuries like it's nobody's business. So here's where you start to hear false messaging of, I heard this over the weekend. Oh, my word, the Federal Reserve Treasury auction, it was amazing. It was 100% sold out. We sold all the U.S. Treasuries that the Fed was trying to liquidate. Okay, who's the buyer? Right, this is a question that nobody asks.
That's a great question.
Yeah, they'll hear that and think, this is great. There's demand for the U.S. Treasuries. It's like, no, there's not. The Fed bought them with money that they printed out of thin air, which is why you're seeing those spikes in debt. We're seeing, because there's nobody buying it, but this is why we have inflation, because they're buying all of it. If you were to look at your balance sheet or income statements as a business owner, and just think, okay, what do we own? What is it that we have? So they would call their debt an asset. I mean, it's like, but they call their assets an asset. So how in the world can they call their debt an asset and their asset an asset? Well, it's because they're the Federal Reserve, right? They say, okay, we've got all this money that we printed out of thin air. We bought these U.S. Treasuries, which is actually a debt. Somebody owes us this money, but we're classifying this as an asset. Well, they've got a toxic balance sheet. They own the largest owner of U.S. Treasuries in the world, an asset that most countries are trying to get rid of. They don't want it anymore. Russia's already 100% out. They got rid of all their U.S. Treasuries. China only has maybe $900 billion left, but they got rid of $100 billion last month. They're getting rid of U.S. Treasuries really rapidly, like really, really rapidly. So it's going to get worse as now come January 1st when the petrodollar actually becomes all of the BRICS nations, 6 of the 9 largest oil producers in the world, part of the BRICS nations.
That happens on January the 1st?
January 1st. There's no more demand for U.S. dollars as the petrodollar. I shouldn't say no more. Still about 30% of the world's population might be using petrodollars. But I don't see, that's probably only going to be short-lived. It's like, why would you continue to use U.S. dollars when 70% of the world are using something different?
Right.
I think that it's just all changing, right? So this is the world that we're living in. Now, add this to the mix. That first chart that we saw where it was showing that debt was going like straight up on this little hump since the last month. Well, let's explain what that hump is. So in the last 30 days, they've added $600 billion to the national debt. That hump there on the screen equates to $600 billion added to the national debt in 1 month. So let's extrapolate that. 12 months of that kind of activity means we add $7.2 trillion. 600 billion times 12 is $7.2 trillion. That means our national debt might no longer be 33 trillion next year. Maybe it's over 40 trillion.
Oh my gosh.
We've never seen that kind of massive growth.
Well, it took us, I know on a previous show you mentioned, it took us all the way to Ronald Reagan as a nation, from Washington to Ronald Reagan, to get $1 trillion in debt.
Now we're at 33, is that what it is?
Well, we did another trillion, this year.
Well, 600 billion just over the last
600 billion in 30 days.
30 days.
I mean, literally, if this is not a sign of the times where we'll hear comments like, we've got inflation under control, it's like, baloney. I'm not believing that.
How can they say that? They're just lying.
Well, because they're lying about the consumer price index numbers. They're absolutely just lying about it. But because they changed the metrics and what they're actually measuring, they can get away with it and not be looked at as liars. But here, what's that chart there, Producer Colton, at the very bottom where that line is going straight up at the end, almost down.
Keep going down.
Down a little bit more, down. Right
there.
That one.
Federal government expenditures, annualized interest payments. Federal government expenditures, annualized interest payments. That's what we're paying in interest.
That is the interest on our federal debt. So look at how it's growing, right? So we're at about $1 trillion a year in just interest-only payments. Last year at this time, and part of that's a function of increased debt, part of it's a function of increased interest rates, right? So you add more debt and higher interest, you're seeing that line go almost straight up, where a year ago it was about half, right? I remember 18 months ago, maybe, we had maybe $300 billion a year in interest-only payments. Now it's close to $1 trillion. Completely unsustainable. Where we're looking at about 20 to 25% of all of our federal tax revenue now goes out towards interest-only payments. That's ridiculous, right? Unsustainable. Nobody can survive on that. It's way too much debt. If that were your family picture, you would have to file for bankruptcy. The U.S. government should have to file for bankruptcy, but they never do because they've got politicians that say, we'll just raise the debt ceiling. We're not filing for bankruptcy because they have a printing press. But moving forward, that printing press is going to become more and more irrelevant because we no longer have demand for our currency to justify being able to print at whim. We can't justify it anymore. Nobody wants our money because of the BRICS nations taking away our reserve currency status and the petrodollar status. I mean, literally, I hate to be like this bad news guy today, but I think this is what 2024 is going to look like. I think we're going to see a debt implosion. I think we're going to see massive amounts of layoffs and unemployment. Retail sector is getting hit really, really hard. Like we talked about last week, box sales, right? Box sales down over 80%. That means the holiday retail season, they're not expecting any sales. And that is 80% of all retailers' revenue for the whole year, which means layoffs come in January when they didn't make their meat and potatoes for the year. So this is where we're headed, and we're going to see the most politically annihilating. People's character is going to be assassinated during this election season. They're going to be people on the same team fighting with each other. See people on opposing teams fighting with each other as always. And people are going to get sick of it, and they're going to start to just give away their freedoms to just make it stop.
All right, so for people that are listening, because for people that are listening, because it's like, this sounds pretty bleak, but I know that there's always options. You see this and think, oh man, okay, our country is in trouble. Obviously we're praying for our country, but what can we do ourselves to get ourselves out of the way of what looks like it could possibly be the inevitable?
Such a good question, because I never want to end a show without hope, right? So,
because feels like
because everything we talked about was bleak and horrible, and it's like, man, I'm making myself sad, right?
Yeah.
But here's where beauty from ashes type moments are always there. So Israel-Hamas conflict, what's happened over the last 2 weeks? Gold has now surpassed $2,000 an ounce. Silver $23.40 an ounce as we record this. It was just a month or so ago, it was in the 21s. It's like, these things are booming, right? And it's coming from the bad news that we've just talked about for this whole show, right? So here's where, we talked about the bad news to build and paint a picture in the landscape for where we are, but now how do you take advantage of it? Simply by reallocating into something that grows because of that horrible news. So I'm not talking about how we can change politics, how we can change politicians' mind, how we can regain our freedoms. The only freedom that we can regain, that I can help with, is our financial freedom, which is a big one.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you don't have money, you can't give, right? We want to be able to fund churches, widows, orphans. We want to impact the kingdom in a big way. A lot of times that takes capital to do that.
Yeah.
And the ones who don't have capital, they're a lot of times the biggest prayer warriors on the planet. We need all of it. And I don't care if you have a little. I don't care if you have a lot. We need to be wise stewards with what God's given us. Gold and silver doing very, very well during the times that we're living in right now. So I would allocate into that strength. Seriously, that's what will start to put a smile on your face financially.
Because what are the downsides? If to somebody, investing in silver and gold, what are the downsides? Obviously, there's downsides right now in the stock market. There's downside, and you're looking at all these different ways. But
or in the dollar.
In the dollar.
If you got a shoebox full of cash, you're hiding under your bed.
Right.
I mean, it's the downside is it's going down every
yeah.
Every day.
What's the downside of gold and silver?
So the downside was you buy it today and it could go down tomorrow. Right? Because nothing goes straight up, nothing goes straight down. It's like, man, I made a bad decision. No, you didn't. It's like, look at the trend. The trend is two steps forward, one step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You look at the trend of the stock market, it's 2 steps down, 1 step up. Right? One is coming down because of fundamental reasons. One is going up because of fundamental reasons. I would say downside on silver, it literally takes about $19 an ounce to even get it out of the ground.
It can go down, but not to zero.
Well, it's
something that's been around since Bible times. Yeah.
Right, and technically it shouldn't get much below $19. So that's truly, I think, your downside risk, because if it gets much lower than that, the miners are just going to say, okay, we're just going to shut down. We're not going to lose money for every ounce that comes out of the earth. So they shut down. Now there's no supply. Manufacturers still need it. Drives the price up really quickly, right? So I don't see much downside risk. Now,
what's the potential upside?
Well, it depends on who you listen to, but historically, I think silver could hit 75 to 100 based on like what it did in 2011 when there was a short squeeze, low supply, high demand.
Right.
Silver went from $12 to $48 an ounce. That's the numbers I'm using because it's historical patterns and precedent. Now we might be a little bit different. And you've got people like our good friend Bo Polney or even Bix Weir who think $1,000 plus silver. And here's the reasons why, right? Well, I'm praying that they're right and I'm wrong. That would be amazing, right? That would be super cool. But I'm not dissatisfied with the 300 to 400% gain because it's not a lifetime that I think we're waiting for. It might be 12 to 18 months. Then we lock in profits. I mean, we're looking at a world right now where there is no such thing as a guarantee in life, right? I'm not guaranteeing these numbers. I'm not God. I don't control the markets. But I'm looking at historical patterns, and to me, you allocate into strength and safety. You unallocate out of things that are coming down, right? So this is where, right now, I look to silver for preservation, for safety, and for growth. You can get all three at the same time, which is really amazing.
It's huge. Okay, so Flyover family, if you are thinking like, man, I have so many questions, I need to get these questions answered, you can just go to flyovergold.com. It's a landing page. When you scroll down to the bottom, there's a place you can fill out your information. When you do that, someone from Dr. Kirk's team will get a hold of you to set up a free consultation. They'll be able to answer all your questions, find out exactly what your needs are, and then help you to be able to get yourself out of the way of what's going on right now. So again, you go to flyovergold.com, or you can call 720-605-3900. Again, it's 720-605-3900.
Please call and talk to them.
Yeah.
Find out what you don't know.
That's exactly right. Dr. Kirk, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Are you having a hard time sleeping at night, thinking, what am I going to do about my finances?
Times are really changing. They're changing fast. Let me give you a quick example of how. In 1920, if you had a $20 bill and 1 ounce of gold, you could go into any men's clothing store and buy an entire suit. You could buy the jacket, the shirt, the belt, shoes, the whole bit. Today, that $20 bill, what's it going to get you?
Not much.
Maybe the socks, maybe a handkerchief, but the 1 ounce of gold could still buy you the entire suit at any men's store in America. That's the difference. That's what inflation does to your dollar. It's a deflating dollar caused by inflation. Now today, that's happening faster than ever. You need somebody that you trust that can help get you out of a fake currency and into something that's going to keep you safe.
And we know a guy that has 2 PhDs by the name of Dr. Kirk Elliott. We have known him for over 25 5 years, and he's someone we completely trust.
You need somebody that you can get a hold of, somebody that's going to be there for you to get back out of it, and then maybe back into the stock market, maybe back into something else when things settle down. But right now is not that time. You need somebody that you trust and somebody you can call and make those worries go away.
That's exactly right. So you can go to flyovergold.com, fill out your information for your free consultation, or you can call 720-605-3900. Do it today.
You'll be glad you did.
Hello, Flyover family. Join me every Wednesday for the Prophetic Report at 11:11 Central. You can find it on Rumble. You can find it on the Flyover app. We have such an incredible time of hearing from all of these different prophetic voices like Robin Bullock, Julie Green, Barry Wunsch, Amanda Grace, and Hank Kuhneman. Every week, it's either 5 or 6 different prophets that are speaking, and what's interesting is God is speaking through them, and all of these voices come together like puzzle pieces. It is so exciting to hear what the Lord is saying. We're hearing from medical, we're hearing from military intelligence, we're hearing from the financial world, we're hearing from mainstream media, but the most important is, what is God saying? He has not fallen off the throne. He's not nervous. He's not chewing his nails. He is in control. He has plans to prosper us and not to harm us. What a great time to be alive, and I'm so excited for you to join me every Wednesday at 11:11. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You know, we are so close to breaking 90,000 subscribers on our Rumble channel, and we need your help. Our goal is to hit 100,000 by the end of the year.
And we can't do it without you, so we appreciate that. One thing I got to thinking about from my comment earlier about this little message that I got is when you see people out there and they're supporting the president or they're doing positive things, give them a thumbs up, give them a high five. You never know how many of you there are out there in public. So, patriots that stick together, stick together.
That is true. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We bless you. We bless you to realize you were born for such a time as this. We bless you to realize your future is brighter than your past. And we bless you to wake up, speak up, and show up.
See you again here next night. Bye-bye.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Flyover Conservatives podcast with David and Stacy Whited. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave us a comment below. Lastly, if you enjoyed today's podcast, share with those who came to mind. Be blessed and make it a great day.